performance in Texas is a very balanced approach. We look at overall achievement. So did our third graders at the end of the year, did they master all that stuff in math? Did they master the times tables? But we also recognize we have kids that come from a huge array of backgrounds. And sometimes they walk into school with some pretty significant challenges. So we also look at how much academic growth they occurred. Even if everybody in fourth grade started as a first grader, if you grew them 2 full years in that year, we need to give you a ticker tape parade too. And so we will give schools the higher the rating of academic proficiency or academic growth. And we do that for all the kids on average. But if you really believe that all means all, if you really can look in the eyes and shake the hands of every single kid in this auditorium and want to make sure that you're doing the best for them, then we can't just look at the average kid. We've got to look at how we are closing the gaps among all of our groups of kids. And so we do that as well. This is how we evaluate campuses. It is a moral commitment to the next generation of Texas. Statewide, what we saw this year was improvement. We've seen educators, we're really blessed to have an army of angels around the state of Texas working for us. And we've seen a lot of great work in schools around the state. If we had rated schools last year, we'd had 18% that would have received an A. This year, 23% received an A. Fully 31% of our campuses got better year over year. This is what we want to see. And in fact, some schools, it was pretty remarkable. They had 637 campuses go from a B to A, but you had 5 campuses statewide that went from an F to an A. That kind of turnaround is very difficult to do, but necessary. Kids only get one shot at a first grade. So what do we do to make sure that we're doing the best for them every year? There are some who think that this is just demographic destiny. All that you're doing is labeling neighborhoods. That is not correct. The teachers in this school can tell you that that is not correct. The work that they do matters and it has an impact. And when you do it well, you can change the trajectory of the life of one kid, of one family, of one entire neighborhood when you do it well. We actually have, as you can see, 361 campuses in the state of Texas where more than 80% of the kids need some kind of federal support to eat on a regular basis and still have achieved the highest level of performance in our A through F system. Poverty is not destiny. What can make destiny is highly skilled teachers with a strong administrative team supporting them. Good curriculum, good instruction, and more of it. That's how we change lives. That's how we make public education the great equalizer. And make sure that this grand experiment in American democracy continues for the next 250 years. When we think about this, we use this as administrators. I was a former school board member, 4.5 years. Been on the Dallas board for 4.5 years. Definitely felt like 40. Having a tool like this was powerful for me as a board member. My job was to make sure, are my schools better, the same, or worse than they were the year before? And how do I support my administrative team accordingly? So this kind of tool set, very important for me as a board member. But I'm a dad, not just a board member. And giving this information to parents is part of our belief that we know these are the children of they're the parents' kids. Parents are actually in charge in Texas. It's not, unfortunately, it's not true everywhere, but it is definitely true in Texas. And so we put this information up on a website. You can visit it today. Go to texasschools.gov. And you can check out the results of any school that you want in the state of Texas. Here you can see this school is a B, got an 87 out of 100. Clearly, we're not talking about Gilmer Elementary, because we're talking about Gilmer Elementary. It'd be an A up there. This is what y'all were able to achieve in the last year. But you can see the performance history. If you're like me and you want to nerd out on education data, you can go all the way down the rabbit hole. But you can also just get a quick sense of what's happening. We actually have this year, we're releasing 2024 data at the same time as 2025 data because a couple hundred districts sued me over that. We did win that lawsuit, which is victory for children, although I will say the parents kind of did lose that lawsuit because telling you today how well your school did 2 years ago doesn't do a whole lot of good for that parent 2 years ago. So so you'll have this information up on the website. You can actually put in your home address. You can kind of map out around your neighborhood. You can search for different kinds of things. Do you have an advanced placement program? Is there a rigorous fine arts program? What's the is there dual language instruction? So you can filter for all of that on the website. You can do that and a whole lot more. But to spare you the details on the data, let me just come back to the work of education is the most important work that any civilization does. You can judge us by how well we serve the kids who will be the leaders in this country tomorrow. And for the teachers that are in this room, for those that don't work in education, you might not realize just how difficult their job is. At least for brain surgeons, we give them the benefit of only one brain at a time and anesthesia. Y'all are walking into the operating room and you're molding 20 brains simultaneously, and they're very much awake giving feedback during the procedure. So this is the hardest thing that we do. But I will also say it's the most important work that we do. There's an old Greek proverb that it goes something like this. It's, wise is he who plants a seed for a tree whose shade he will never see. And you don't know what will happen after they are outside of your classroom. But you do know how well that you supported them while they were there, and equipping them to pursue their purpose, to fulfill their God-given potential. It's the highest calling any of us can have. Thank you so much for what you do. God bless, and God bless Gilmer ISD. I guess it's a press conference, so it wouldn't be fair if I didn't let him ask a question or two. Anybody have questions? Whether you're a graduating senior and have questions.
I'll defer my next question.
Absolutely.
Commissioner, what do you make of efforts to replace the START test, and what would you like that test to look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. The legislature is currently debating. In fact, members of the legislature would have been here today, but they have other duties as assigned. The legislature is debating a replacement of the STAR test with a smaller progress monitoring instrument. So imagine a kind of a test earlier in the year, in the middle of the year, and at the end of the year. And it's not that STAR is inaccurate, but it doesn't do you all that much good to help a kid in February. You don't get the results until June. And so the concept that we would be able to have a shorter test, give more immediate results to teachers and to their families, and allow for sort of more immediate course correction. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and this is, of course, what the legislature is debating right now. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, ma'am. She asked about the biggest gain statewide. So here, I mean, Gilmer's improvements are incredible, and we should praise them, but they are, I think, indicative of a team that's just being relentlessly better year in and year out. Probably the biggest academic turnaround that you can talk about, it happened in Houston ISD. It's probably at that scale, it's the largest academic turnaround, I think, in the history of the United States. So in a school district that has really large numbers of students that come with very significant challenges, they actually are now exceeding state averages in mathematics performance statewide. They have 0 F campuses. I'm not sure that's ever happened in Houston, at least not in the last 40 years. And so, it's a big school system, 300 campuses. So it's very impressive.
Talk again about what it was that allowed Gilmer to make this.
It's a great question, and he asked what happened in Gilmer that allowed this to happen. So I will start with an environment where we think everything's okay and we stick our head in the sand. And so what you see here is you see a strong leadership team that believes that all children can learn and achieve, and that operates on that belief system. But you can't just end there. We think, broadly speaking, there's 5 ingredients you got to get right: leadership, talent, culture, curriculum, and instruction. So again, leadership starting with high expectations. Talent. Are you relentless in how you recruit and how you support and grow the people that are on your team, how you retain the folks that are on your team so that they can continue to be effective year in, year out? From a culture perspective, what do you do to provide an environment of love and discipline? Because these things don't come without being connected. So that when students are sitting down in their seats, they are prepared to learn, they are ready to learn, they're getting the supports they need to be effective. When you think about curriculum, is it rigorous? Are we, in third grade, are we memorizing our times tables? In high school, are we debating the finer points of Shakespearean language? Is the nature of the curricular experience, is it designed so that from a cognitive science perspective, kids can actually learn from it? And then instruction. How well is instruction delivered? If you make the analogy that this is a very large classroom and I am a teacher, I can tell you that this is lousy instruction. And the reason why I can tell you that this is lousy instruction is because I have no idea if you actually understand what I'm saying. Teachers can't just talk. They have to make sure that all 20, all 35, every student in that room masters the day's lessons. And that is not something you are just born knowing how to do. It comes from a great deal of intellectual reflection and engagement. So when I think about leadership, talent, culture, curriculum, instruction, Gilmer gets it right. She asked about the cell phone ban. I think it's going to be wonderful. It will allow us to return to a time of learning without interruption. Again, I'm not just a dad, or I'm not just Commissioner of Education, I'm a dad, so my 7th grader asks me roughly once a week, when are you going to get a cell phone for me? And I keep explaining to her, I don't know why all the other kids have cell phones. You're not getting one. So it's a distraction. It's actually, if you'll allow me to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, it's actually a study that if you put a cell phone face down on the desk of a student, it will reduce their performance on every single task that is assigned during that lesson, even when it's turned off. Any other questions?
What's your message to parents and students who are sitting in school who maybe get to that they've been sitting at a seat for
Well, we got mama bears in the room and dads, but I play second fiddle in my house. We all want what is best for our kids. That's what every parent wants. It is, you try to make the best decisions that you can, give the students, choose a good school for your kid, provide supports. But I think, it is a bit of a partnership. I trust the schools that I drop. I actually dropped my kids off this morning before I flew out here. I trust my schools to do right by my kids. I expect them to do right by my kids. But there's also, it's a two-way street. I've got to talk to my teachers, I've got to understand what the homework assignments are, I've got to make sure that I'm supporting that homework at home, I've got to make sure my kids aren't acting up. Like it's a two-way street, but I also want to expect the school to deliver good instruction. You heard in the introduction that they adopted a structured phonics curriculum here a couple years back. Like, that is necessary. You don't really learn the English language without a structured phonics program. So, talk to your school about the curriculum that they have. Make sure that it is rigorous. These are important. But if you're interested at home, you can also visit texasschools.gov and log in and see how well your school performed. Well, thank you all so much. It's great to be with you today.